as Tomase was putting on the Jets. Splitting defenders right here, still on it, pushes it out wide. Ball into the middle, and that will find the back of the net. Not sure if Ferreira actually got a toe on it or if it will be credited on the outside. But it's still the ball into the danger and through that 6-yard box. Ferreira making the run between. Yeah, that goal going to Baird, Corey Baird, 45 plus 1, and then 79 to 84 were needed. Another opportunity, Dallas, that will find the back of the net. Alan Velasco makes it a 2-0 match. Less than a minute later, edge of the area, finding Velasco, and again, it's the quality in the final third. What a well picked out goal, finding the bottom corner there.
I actually don't think we played badly today. We had 5 minutes of madness, and I don't think there's been any difference between the two teams with an own goal and then the third one. Boxy's let the guy just run off him and head it in the middle of the goal. The second one, we've actually got the goal. We've had the kickoff, and once again this football snobbery of it's too much to play it forward. We'll keep the ball and keep possession, but we don't mind Dane doing it. It's something we spoke about in the past, and obviously hugely disappointing to come off 3-0 because I don't think that we've played badly today. We've probably played better today than we did against Houston. If I look at the full 90 minutes, I thought first half was good, restricted them to one opportunity and looked dangerous on the break. Just a little bit of quality with the final ball, but I was relatively pleased at half time. And obviously, after that, was it 3 and 3 minutes or something? I don't know. And after that, again, there's nothing in the game. But obviously, you don't win too many games when you concede 3.
You don't win too many games when you concede 3 goals. The wisdom of Adrian Heath, head coach of Minnesota United FC. Welcome, everybody, tonight to Big D After Dark. Happy Labor Day to you. Hope you had a restful day. I hope you're enjoying the milk in the final hours before you may have to go back to work and study and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm your host here, Nathan J. Hill. You can follow me there on Twitter. Next to me is our buddy, I always get it wrong, Tommy LaBeouf at Tom_FC Dallas. Below me, Jose Carmona at El Chico Carmona.
What's up, everybody?
And our buddy Ishmael Belcora at Belcora Ishma on Twitter. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. We last week we were a little perplexed with the 1-1 draw at home. FC Dallas dropped points at home, but then they went up to Minnesota United and took care of business. A 3-0 beat down. Beautiful result. A lot of fun to watch. And good timing, as FC Dallas needs every point it can get as the playoffs continue to draw close. So we're going to get into it, and as well as Adrian Heath. We don't have any post-game commentary from Nico. I'm not sure why, but I was able to grab that clip from Adrian Heath, and I thought that was clever. And a little bit of a Houston dig in there, too, I think. Anyway, they played better against FC Dallas than they did against Houston, but they lost 3-0. So I don't know how that... And meanwhile, Houston fired their head coach today. So we may get to that in a little bit, too. But let's just get to our post-game reactions, our reactions from a 3-0 away victory. Ishmael, we'll start with you tonight. What did you see?
I saw the perfect road performance, right? So we've been talking about how this year on the road we've been better than we've been in the last couple of years, mainly because of how stringent the team is defensively. And in those games that we've won, we've just taken our chances, not made a lot of mistakes in the back. It was the same thing here. Granted, it was a couple of minutes of pure joy. I think the best 5 minutes from this season. I don't think that's really arguable, honestly. And I don't know, it just clicked for like 5-10 minute time period in the game. It wasn't like we were being like Minnesota was dominating, like Adrian Heath kept insinuating. I do think we were on the on the front foot. The only real chance they had in this entire game was that early chance by Reynoso. That was quite literally it. We were on the front foot. We were just not clicking in the final third. A common issue with this team during the season, and then it clicked. It was amazing. It was pure bliss.
It felt like it was a little bit of like pent up, just this team wanting to unleash the attack. And let's make a note too that like Matt Hedges was injured and Tafari came in and played a really solid game as well on that back line. Jose, what were your thoughts about the match?
Well, my thoughts was it was nice to see the team finally find a weakness in a team and exploit it promptly before they could do anything about it. You saw the 3-goal succession there. I think that's what we've all been wanting to see. Seeing the team basically score a goal and then sit back and defend the rest of the night is what we're used to. When we're saying, hey, you're up, pour it on, put on another goal, put this game on away, and it was, just stunning to see them do it on the road, and very satisfying, mind you. You know, we went from being worried to 5 minutes later we're all like, wow, what 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 did we just witness? And that's great. Also, Tafari, huge important game for him. I mean, we were talking about a player who played over 20 matches last year and has mostly been coming off the bench. This is a very important start for him, replacing the most important player on our back line. So it was a big deal to see him come out there and help the team get a clean sheet. And that's just a massive performance for a player who, let's face it, Martinez is getting a little tongue long in the teeth and in the tooth, and Tafari is a player that if you want to move on from Martinez in the future, is the guy that you want to see make that step and show that, hey, I can perform in big games on the road. So a huge game for not just the team but for a player like Tafari. I'm very happy with his performance. Definitely the best performance of the season for this team. In a statement win, honestly, a 6-point match.
And a big game from Tumasi too. There, just really crucial, helping make that first goal happen. Tommy, what was your reaction to this?
Well, all year. Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. All year, what has Nico been saying? Whenever we have a game where we tied or we lost 1-0, what did he say? His exact words were, we had 3 chances, and if we would have scored the goals, we'd have put the game away. We'd have went up 3-0. We would have went up 2-1 or whatever, and the game would have been over. Remember Houston, where Jesus had to keep her one-on-one, didn't do it. Well, this time they did it. They did it on the road, and we saw this team on the road before. Beat the Galaxy. They beat Orlando. We know this team can win on the road, and it's just a matter of them, finally getting a little, good things happening. They've been very unlucky, and just a lot of bad breaks. But this time they scored the goals and got ahead, and it was great to see. And I think one thing I took note of, and I tweeted this on a little video on that second goal. One thing that I thought about is when the last time you've seen 5 players get technical passes and just beautiful, it all started with Sebastian Lletget in the middle of the field, checking his shoulder and seeing Velasco wide open. And then you have Paxton coming down on the side with the ball, and he sees Lletget, a perfect pass splitting the defenders. Lletget doesn't even look at Velasco, gives him a perfect pass, unlook, no look pass kind of. And then, then the other part is the touch from Velasco to take that ball and set it right for a perfect shot. And then to take the shot, not kill it in the stands like we've had in the past years, but to curve it, finesse it, and score it on target in the goal. I don't think I've ever seen 5 players so good with the technical touches and the passes and a score like that. And I applaud FC Dallas. I thought that was just wonderful. And I think that's optimistic to see that we could probably make some damage in the playoffs if we can put this kind of game together.
So good, and I think We had we had plenty of moments where we questioned, we've questioned a lot of players this season at moments of like, is Edwin Cerrillo, is he just a roster piece or is he a legit guy?
Right.
And I think he still has a lot of room to grow. I think there's a lot of players on this squad that are going to have those growing pains, but we're seeing the guys step up. Alan Velasco is getting stronger at every game, getting a feel for how he can impact the game. But to see Edwin Cerrillo put some of the bad performances behind him, to see Tomasi put some shaky performances behind him, even Jose Martinez at least to put out a good shift. It's just this team has promise. This team is showing that it can be a real contender in this league. Whether that all comes together or not, we'll wait and see. There's plenty of soccer to be played, but it's exciting. And I think for the first time this season, one of the question marks was who are our best three midfielders? Who are our starting midfielders? And I think these past few games we're beginning to see that. Sebastian Letget has been a great trade. The fact that New England is paying a salary was like icing on the cake, But the dude has had, 4 assists, 5 assists since he joined FC Dallas.
5 assists in 6 games, 5 assists in 5 starts, actually.
Yeah, and then Paxton has I think that's helped Paxton play more free, more disruptive, more what he wants to play if he's not having to worry about some other aspects of the field. And Edwin then is able to, I think, to play a little bit more in a role in that defensive mid role, so he's able to focus and clean things up. So it's just interesting how a signing can impact a team and can just help give a little breathing room to other players. Now, was this performance perfect? I think in that first half, I think Minnesota did have some chances, some breakaway chances that could have really hurt FC Dallas. So there's always things to improve for this team, but I just think this is a good overall performance. I think that maybe the only person you could knock is Areola, but Areola had a nice chance early on in the first half, and he continues to work as hard as he can work, out there. So, and I'm just so relieved to get Jesus going. I mean, I just think, anytime he misses, he doesn't score, I just don't want him to get frustrated and start snatching at chances, right? And so he can get a goal like he did. It's just great for FC Dallas as they prepare to face other teams.
They go by Ferreira. One thing I noticed on that is that it all started with Velasco taking the similar shot that he scored on and hitting the post and bouncing off. As soon as it hit that post, watch Ferreira. He checks who's covering him, and he immediately gets on the line ready for a header. The ball comes to Sebastian Letget. He looks up, and first thing he does is see Ferreira, and he fires the ball. And Ferreira is already in spot, and they kind of we're all on the same page. And what a perfect pass right here! You can just see him right here. He's looking at, and it's just a perfect pass. And like I say, that goal wasn't started when the ball hit the post from Velasco. If you watch Ferreira, that was just excellent by Jesus.
And that Velasco shot, it's almost becoming like a signature shot. I mean that's a shot that we're seeing repeatedly where he puts a move on a guy inside the box and then just makes that quick dart to the right and blasts it. And we've seen him do that repeatedly, and it's like I said, it's starting to become kind of like a signature shot for him.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that we keep talking about how this team is finding its feet, but I also think that the team has just been playing well, with a couple of exceptions, since the end of July. This team, I think, has recognized the importance of just playing consistently, and there's been a couple of tough games. I think the Nashville game was just out of occurrence, and it does show the vulnerability we have once those 11 players start dropping, like it did with Jesus, not being able to play in that game. But these last 6-7 games, I think it showed that this core team 11 starters and maybe like 2 or 3 bench players can make a run. I think that's complete. Like it's clear we're 2 points away from that 48-point mark that I kept harping on, and we still have 4 games left. And this team has been so consistent, more consistent than literally everyone else around them. Austin has been dropping points. LSU played good this weekend, but they've been dropping points. Minnesota had a great run, have lost 2 straight. Teams like the teams in the West that have picked up form and have been consistent have been Nashville and FC Dallas. Both teams have recognized that it's not really the start of the season that matters. It's this playoff run, and I think it's encouraging to see that as an FC Dallas fan because I don't think that's been seen in quite a while. Even in those great playoff runs, like in 2016, where we had a great supporter shield run, the end of the season, despite the circumstances that we know what happened in 2016, the end of the season was on shaky ground. At least so far, we still have 4 games, and these 4 games are crucial as to whether the team hits form and goes into the playoffs running. But so far, they've done a really good job of just placing themselves ahead of the rest of the pack mentally, and that's really important when it comes to the playoffs.
Well, and I want to add to that and say that I think we're seeing this team is peaking, and this is something that like Ishmael says, we're not used to seeing. But I mean, go back 10 games, and in the last 10 games, Dallas has won 5 games, drawn 3, and only lost 2. I mean, that's sensational form heading into the playoffs. They're still holding on to the 3 spot, which I think a lot of people were assuming they would have dropped off a long time ago. And mind you, in their last 4 games, they have not one but 2 statement wins. The win against the East leading Union in Dallas, and now the win on the road against Minnesota. And I mean, take a look around. We're no longer talking fringe playoff team. We're getting to the point where if this upcoming weekend Dallas can pull 3 points against LAFC, we're talking contender. We're not talking please just give us a home game. We're talking, hey, this team is beating teams it needs to beat to show that they are a real threat. Maybe not a title contender, but they're a team that's going to knock out teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, that Nashville result is one that we kind of got deflated on, even though it was like 3 games in 8 days or whatever. But look at the tear Nashville's been on. Like they've just been crushing teams. So it was a little bit of timing there.
Meet Nashville.
You were muted there, Tom.
Oh.
Yeah,
but I mean, we all know that the Nashville game, the team wasn't 100%. So it's not like I don't think it's a true reflection of the team.
Sure.
But it is a reflection on the team's lack of depth, which we are all aware of. But let's face it, the starting 11 for this team are starting to show that they can beat anybody else's starting 11, and seeing Tafari come in and start and give you a meaningful start in a meaningful game. That's got to get everybody's hopes up to say, hey, we're not the deepest team, but we're not necessarily shallow. There are a couple of players that can give us quality minutes off the bench. We can't go too far into our bench full rotation wise, but 2 or 3 players, there's 3 or 4 players that can come in and give us solid, significant minutes without too much of a drop off.
Yeah, it's great to see. Can you hear me? Oh, just make sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I agree with you. Tafari playing and coming in for Matt Hedges is big. I mean, the guy has got athleticism. It's just getting the experience and the games under his belt, and then I think that's all that's needed. But he came in and played very well. And I was just saying, I think Nashville is probably the team to beat because they are a good team. They haven't been playing well, but they're hot right now. And in the playoffs, you don't want to hit the hot teams. Well, I guess you want to beat the best to be the best. But I think they're the ones that are hot right now.
But I think that's good for Dallas that Nashville is hot because with Dallas and Nashville both being hot, it increases the odds it decreases the odds that they'll run into each other in the playoffs early. So I have no problem with Nashville being hot and Dallas being hot because, like I said, they're likely not gonna meet each other in the first round, in their first
Yeah.
round match.
Or at least at home.
and it-
We just,
Yeah.
Exactly.
And-
So I
and-
think it's great that that Nashville is hot and they're probably going to be opposite on the other side of the bracket.
Yeah, and to address Heath's comments when he says that Minnesota played better against FC Dallas than they did against Houston, I think it goes without saying that teams play better against better teams, and they don't play as good against worse teams. So I think that's kind of how you
Yeah,
read
that sounds like he's got a problem getting his club motivated because that's a very strange comment for him to make.
so Ishmael was laughing a bit during those comments, but good
I
stuff.
watched that live. Heath is, if it weren't for Vermees and the coach out in Portland, Heath would be among the league's biggest crybabies. Like Heath was one of those coaches early on in his career where his team would win like a big game, then he'd complain that MLS wouldn't be talking about them.
Right.
He's that kind of coach that has that kind of mindset. He makes so many excuses. It's quite funny.
I wanted to say something on Saturday. I had a music event to go play, so I think I was trying to watch as much as I could of the game because I had to be there at like 5 o'clock, right? So I had to leave around 4:30. When I left, the game was 0-0, like 52nd minute. I get in my car, I go change, get in my car, and I'm on the road. I put the game on the radio, listen to it. It was 3-0. I was like, what? Unbelievable. Oh, my God.
I had similar.
Maybe next time if we need to go, I'll just go for a ride and help
right.
FC Dallas.
That's right.
I had a similar experience because I was actually listening to the game in my car because I had to pick up groceries, and around the 52nd minute is when I pulled into my driveway, unloaded my groceries, ran in, turned on the TV, and it was 3-0, and I was like, what the hell is this? I had to log online and verify that the score was accurate, and I wasn't like watching some aberration, some typo or something. They're like, no, you blinked.
I was on the highway. I pulled over. I got off the side of the road. I said, I got to see what's going on here. I actually got off the highway, pulled into a parking lot, and then got it and got back on the road. Unreal.
Yeah, unreal. I mean, and it just, yeah, it was joy as an FC Dallas fan to watch them just put the game away. It's been a while, I think, since we've had an own goal go in our favor. So
And
good
a red
stuff.
card.
Yeah, and a red card. So it was just a good thing. But I wanted to say to Ishmael that I think this was one of Tomasi's best games at right back. I think he's had his ups and downs this season. He's had his learning and growing issues, and some of that I don't know that it's all on him. It's just a matter of the team, continuing to figure itself out and figure out how to gel. But to see Tomasi show his strength and make some really crucial runs, we've seen that from Farfan. I just hope we see more of it down the stretch, because if so, then teams won't be able to target his side like we have seen them do over and over again, thinking he's the weak link on this roster. So it's really exciting if he can start to generate some attacks, some dangerous runs. It just bodes really well for FC Dallas being able to make things happen.
I think the main issue is that right back has been a position of strength for a while now. People had their issues with Grana, but I thought he was a very solid MLS player. You had Reggie Cannon, who just blew up, and then Reynolds, who blew up even more. And I think a lot of people were disappointed in Mundoma early on, so Tomasi looked better in comparison. But when the expectations started to fall on him, it was a lot of negativity that I think throughout this season he's dispelled. I think there have been moments of weakness, but truly I think he has been one of the best defensive right backs in the league, and that's not something that's seen common anymore. And then he's also elevated his attacking play. Like everyone else, he was bad in the Nashville game, but he played well against Minnesota, RSL, Philadelphia, San Jose. He's been consistent. He's allowed himself, especially later on in the season, to go forward and not just sit back and just defend, which he was good at, but it caused issues that attacking side, especially when Obrian played. It caused issues on that right side because there was just not enough attacking danger from that side. But now he's allowed himself to push forward. He doesn't lose the ball. I feel like that's not talked about because players just lose the ball sometimes. It's difficult to find a clip where he loses the ball.
Or
Either
he's,
from
or he's
getting
lodged
into
off. Or he's lodged
I
off.
agree with you.
Yeah. He
He's a
just
strong
doesn't
player,
lose
yes.
the ball.
You give him
a
you give him a 10 and
even
strength.
early
He's
on.
strong.
Yeah, even early on when he started to play a lot for FC Dallas, like that Portland playoff game is something that's like in my memory because in those 15 minutes he just shouldered people and they'd fall over, and I think that Tumasi still has room to grow, but he has the potential to just become an MLS lifer and do it until he's like 33, 34. And I think we're lucky, especially considering the weights that we put on Nanu early on into the season about how he had these expectations.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
I
one
just
could
wanna
argue
point
that-
out. I just want to say
Good.
that I know we want players to be MLS lifers, but I don't think it has the same connotation as it did in the past. I mean, MLS has improved, and today's MLS lifers are certainly playing at a higher level than MLS lifers from say 5, 7, 8 years ago. You know, I think the quality of the league has gone up incrementally, and if you can find a player that is a MLS lifer, I mean, you're still getting a good quality player. And I don't know. I think we've seen Tomasi grow and improve and continue to prove game in, game out, just like we've seen from a lot of other players on the team. And it's gotten to the point where take a look at the starting 11 from this past weekend, and obviously other than Tafari, who's in for Matt Hedges, but if any of those players are not starting, a match, that's when you go, wow, I can't believe that guy's not starting, because our starting lineup is pretty much set. Those are the guys that I expect to see. Of course, with Tafari coming in for Martinez or Hedges if one of them's injured. But other than that, man, I mean, I think that's our starting lineup going forward, and I want to see that continue, and I want to see the team basically stick to that group and no more fiddling. Let's get everybody on the same page and get this well-oiled machine running full steam ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Tomasi's had a really good year. I don't recall any time that he was beaten badly for a goal or gave away a bad pass. I think his defense has been pretty good all year. He just hasn't gone up like Granada, I'm not saying his name right, in the past, or Reggie Cannon or Brian Reynolds. He hasn't gotten into the box like those guys, right? But the game, but this Saturday, first goal, all because of Tomasi's pass to Arioli. He started the whole thing on Saturday. So
I just wanted to add that you guys have now mentioned Grana twice.
Grana,
and I remember, I tell you what I remember from Grana is that he loved to take chances. He loved to do those tackles from out of nowhere, and it's kind of funny you guys brought him up because Quignon reminded me of Grana when he first arrived with some of his strange tackle attempts. Because that's exactly who he reminded me of.
It's MLS All-Star Hernan Grana.
Yes, it's true. This is true, but I'm not saying anything bad about him. I'm just saying I remember that he loved to take chances. He loved to take chances on defense, and it endeared him to some people, and to other people they were like, "My guy, what's he doing?" I'm just saying that's what I remember distinctly about him was that guy was fearless. He would make so many sliding tackle attempts, more so than I recall any other player at right back doing.
Well, one thing I remember about Grana is going to a game and we had no other attacker and we had no midfield to go attack, and the whole game was passed to Grana. Grana would go down the line and it was just like pitch and catch between him and someone other. I can't remember who else was he was going to, but it was just the Granada game the whole time. And how times have changed now, right? Because we got left and we got right and mid, and
I
we
just
had the
think it
top
shows,
covered.
and I just think it shows that honestly, Tuamasi is just basically. Uh, I think Dallas has a strong tradition of having strong right backs, and Tuamasi is starting to show that he belongs as part of the continuation. Dallas produces strong right backs for this league, and it's good to see Tuamasi showing that, hey, I'm just the next up for Dallas. I'm the next uh, good right back to come out from Dallas.
He's different than Brian Reynolds.
Yeah.
He's different than Reggie Cannon, but he's good in his own way
Yep.
with the strength.
And meanwhile, Brian Reynolds is starting at left back somewhere in Europe anyway. So
I honestly, I don't have a problem with that because people forget that he started at left back a couple of games in Italy. So it's not. I don't think it's the big deal that people are trying to make. As long as he's getting starts, that's all that really matters for him. And I do think he started at left back, but I'm fairly sure he finished the game at right back. So I don't think it's a big deal. I don't have a problem with him. Hey, left back tends to be a weakness for the U.S. men's national team. So Reynolds catching on at left back wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Well, and we're grateful everybody watching tonight. If you have any questions, comments about any reactions to the Minnesota game, post them in the Facebook comments, YouTube comments. We'll certainly include them and help shape the show here as we go forward. So this weekend, FC Dallas continues that playoff march with welcoming Los Angeles FC to Frisco. A crucial match. I mean, I hate to say it's like the match of the season or whatever like that, but I think just any points that FC Dallas can get from here on out. Obviously, you want the full 3 points at home, but points are points, and there's going to be a lot of chaos over these next few games with the teams below them just scrabbling and fighting and putting everything on the line for to make things happen. So it'll be an interesting and fun match to watch. But we were a little nervous about Los Angeles FC a few weeks ago. They've had this dip in form. They are very beatable. They are a very talented squad. But just what's your confidence level going into Saturday, guys? What's your confidence level? Tommy, what's your confidence level?
I expect a competitive game. I'm going to say this time we're going to go and be competitive. I think that we put on our pants just like them. Even though they do have some high-profile signings who are kind of old in age, but upper in age, but this team has shown that they can score goals. They can, the only concern I have with this team going forward is maybe just the speed, the pace of our center backs. It's, with Hedges being out, that was kind of mitigated with Tafari being in, but Tafari does some things maybe that Hedges doesn't. But that's my only concern is the center backs going forward. I think that if they can score goals like they did against Minnesota, they can play against anybody. If they don't score the goals like they have done in the past, then we're going to go down to 1-1 games at the end in very dramatic fashion. But if they can get the goals, they can play with anyone.
Jose?
So I'm feeling pretty confident, and simply I want to point out that if you take both of the summer signings approaches that LAFC and FC Dallas took this summer, you're seeing the difference. FC Dallas went out and got just one guy, and they kept telling us, hey, we're just going to bring, we're looking for a guy that's come in, and we thought they were full of it. And they stuck to their guns, and they brought in one guy. And that guy slots right into start, and he's been gelling with the team since he arrived. But now LAFC, they went out and they got 6 guys, some significant names. And there is such a thing as just making too many changes at midseason and just messing up your team chemistry. And I think that's what we're seeing from LAFC. Yes, they're talented. They're gonna have way more talent than anybody else. But they really did themselves a disservice by simply making way too many changes. And now their problem is they're a talented team, but can they gel in time for the playoffs? And we're starting to see them struggle. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Is you can have all the talent in the world, but if they're not all on the same page, then a team that you play that is on the on that who's all on the same page, they may have less talent, but they're going to get you in the little places that you're basically faltering at communication, all that. I think I think the team that we're facing this coming weekend, it's not the well-oiled machine that FC Dallas faced before, and I think it's the opposite. I think Dallas is the team that's basically playing like a well-oiled machine, and yeah, I believe FC Dallas is going to get three. I would be disappointed if they have to settle for a draw like they did against RSL, but it's LAFC, so it's not like I'd be too upset about it. I'd still be upset about it because I think LAFC hasn't gelled yet, and they're there for the picking. I hope, I certainly hope that FC Dallas can score more than one goal and put these guys away early.
Ishmael?
Yeah, I mean, I think the shock towards how LAFC is playing is a disservice to how difficult their run has been. They're 3-0-3 in these last 6 games. It's not a great record, but I'm going to be honest, most of the teams uh, fighting for a playoff spot right now would take that record, right? So I think the shake in the locker room has been real, but I also think that, I mean, every single one of those players has a circumstance that's made it difficult, right? They don't want to throw in Chiellini in every game because this is MLS. It's not Italy. It's hard travel. Blanca, I think, just made his first start, um, or maybe it's even his first appearance. Uh, it's it is somewhat of a disservice to them, I think, to just be like they're in shambles. I think they're going into the playoffs full force. I think their schedule is quite difficult. So this is basically for them an early playoff test, right? Because they're playing four playoff teams, four teams that want to make the playoffs, that are in their conference, and I think that gives them an advantage in the way that in the way that they're basically preparing for the teams that they're going to have to play against. So this is one of FC Dallas's last playoff teams that they're playing, right? Um, After this, it's San Jose, Colorado, and Sporting Kansas City. This game is more important for Dallas, I think, than it is for LAFC because it's possible that we go into those 3 games and just completely bottle them. It would be very disappointing if that's what happens, but that is possible. Um, but this is truly the final test. This is the final test for this team to see how are they going to do against playoff opposition. Uh, this is going to be a fun game. I honestly, I honestly don't know what will happen. It should be interesting.
I agree with that because I think if there's one thing we know about LAFC is that they have the talent and the quality to do unexpected things, and so you can lock them down, but then a Gareth Bale can make some kind of crazy run and play that he's capable of doing and get a goal, and your players did everything right. With most other opponents, you would lock them down. But, when you play with some guys who have some quality and, some world-class quality and experience, it can be tough. So, yeah, I don't know what to expect either, but I agree with you, Ishmael. I think this is going to be a big test for FC Dallas. But I'm expecting FC Dallas to show up like they did against Philadelphia Union and to really make this a tough match for LAFC and make LAFC play on their terms. And if they get that goal early, just to lock them down and take the 3 points and move on. So it's going to be an exciting match to watch. And yeah,
I agree with you. In the past, FC Dallas has had signed older players who are at the end of their career, and it's kind of what LAFC has done, right? They've got some old players, big names, kind of at the end of their career. But FC Dallas is a young team, and I think the young team is the way to go. Good players who are young, coming. So I'm excited about that. It makes it more exciting.
All right, well, let's hit a couple other quick topics before we close out the show tonight. One is that North Texas also defeated Minnesota United FC 2 last Saturday evening. It was a good match. A goal from Bernard Kamungo and a goal from Isaiah Parker. 2 FC Dallas guys.
On an assist by Bernard Kamungo.
Right. So excellent stuff, and great to see that team rebound. And I think they clinched officially a playoff spot with that victory. No?
No, they eliminated Minnesota United.
Okay.
So San Jose is playing right now, and San Jose needs 3 points, or they'll be officially eliminated, and North Texas will clinch. So San Jose is playing right now against a very tough Vancouver team. And as long as that game finishes in a draw, it doesn't matter. North Texas clinches. But I mean, honestly, they've all but clinched. We're just waiting basically for San Jose to peter out.
Yeah, and I'm like, Sporting Kansas City 2 is up 5-0 against Colorado. So okay, my God, that's some MLS Next Pro soccer for you after we close up the pod. But I'm just really excited about Kamungo, and I'm excited to see Parker as well with the clutch goal. I mean, just what you want to see. You want to see these guys grow in confidence, get this experience, and then carry that into whatever's next, and hopefully into the off season for FC Dallas as well. You know.
And mind you, Parker.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say Parker's starting to look like a man among boys out there, and I think he's starting to show you that he's outgrowing MLS Next. So I'd be shocked if he's not with this in the senior roster next season, because like I said, he's showing now that he's too good for that league now, and that's what we like to do.
It was a first round pick, right? Do you think we'll see the new signing between now and the end of the year? Will we maybe late mop up minutes?
While it's a possibility, I think if there was an injury or something, I think Kamungo, I think he's going to stay out this playoff run and gain experience from that and stay with the team because that's just crucial. I think it's just crucial experience. But, you never know.
Well, let me ask you this. If we're down and needing a goal and you got O'Brien on the bench or you have Kamungo, who are you guys choosing?
Well, I think the main thing with this is unless Next Pro's playoffs end quite early, right? Because their season ends, the regular season ends on the 18th, and then after that it's playoffs. So after playoffs, I'm not saying that he would, and it would be shocking to see Nico do it because we know how much Nico likes to stick to his guns, but in playoff times everything's uncertain. If there's an injury to like 2 backup wingers in training, which is entirely possible if Obrian and Elmed Carr both drop out, and it's like a quarterfinals, which is past I think when the MLS Next Pro playoffs are going to be done. It wouldn't be shocking to see Kamungo join because I think once the playoffs are done for MLS Next Pro, whether or not he joins the first team in the playoffs, he's going to be trained with the first team. Like they won't be training him with North Texas SC. That would be weird.
By the way, San Jose is up 1-0 against Vancouver. Okay.
I wanted to say this was I think Carlos Sanchez's first start. He looked pretty good. I think the Minnesota did have control over most of the game, but Sanchez looked pretty good. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not North Texas SC either like signs him or extends the loan, because again his signing is a weird one that they've made at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. Of course it was to replace Waldeck, but they could have just stuck to their guns and just stayed with the academy midfield because Waldeck wasn't starting anyway. But Sanchez looked pretty good, I think.
Yeah, and I think his addition, while it does look a little weird at the same time, we'll find out in the next 2 weeks if it's how good of an addition he is, because next 2 weeks North Texas plays St. Louis, and Houston. That's their last two games, and we'll get a better idea if he was the right addition because that's why they brought him in. They needed to solidify their midfield right before the playoffs because the team has blown some leads, some games that they've dropped some points in some games that they should have held on for a win. Colorado did it last time I recall at the death, and I am very happy that Ka, identified that hey, that's a weakness. We need to solidify that defense, and like I said, we'll find out in the next 2 weeks if he's the right addition. He looks solid. I certainly did think he looked intimidating in the center, and that's something that this team has lacked all season. In all honesty, we have not had uh, a defensive mid that commanded some respect out there. We've had some young players that hustled, but they're playing against grown men and getting muscled around. Uh, he's a big guy, and he looks like a solid addition so far.
Yeah, I
By the
think.
way, clean
Um,
sweep of Minnesota.
yeah, yeah. I think one of the things that FC Dallas fans should be looking for in these playoffs is, um, in comparison with the rest of the season, these games are the ones that the FC Dallas technical staff is going to be looking to make decisions, right? It's not going to
Agreed.
be, hey, I'm going to sign Norris now because he played great. But it will be, hey, is Hope going to be invited to training camp? Is Norris? Are we going to bring back Amadume on loan for North Texas SC? Is Smith going to be brought up and actually play a little bit with the first team? Is he going to be good enough to be a backup next year? Like these decisions, which have been up in the air for the majority of the season, are now going to be answered for the technical staff of how this team does in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They don't need to win. I don't think they will win. Um, Honestly, if St. Louis loses the playoffs and doesn't win the championship, it'd be insane. Um, but this is where they're going to make decisions, right? This is this is crunch time for a lot of these players and their contracts, especially since a lot of these are just 1 year contracts.
Well, let's close out the show with one more little nugget, and that is that our beloved, I say beloved, but our hated rivalry down south, Houston Dynamo, they fired their head coach Paulo Nagamura today. Less than 1 year in the job. I think he was hired January 3rd, and he is out September 5th as that team has cratered into oblivion. And if there were relegation candidates, they would be among those in conversations about that. You know, I don't want to rub it in our Houston
Yeah, we do.
neighbors. Okay,
Just kidding.
but yeah, like what are y'all thoughts about that? I mean, to me, and I understand if the team's playing poorly and maybe Paulo was in over his head, but it's just tough to give a guy less than a year to try to do something. Not even just two, or probably not even two full transfer windows to adjust the team to get how his vision is. So it just seems a little harsh. But on the other hand, they have new ownership as well, and my gut is they're going to try to go for some kind of bigger name splash who could handle the some of the names on the roster.
Well, so yeah, the main thing with this is officially Siegel's team. The owner bought out all the stakes for Houston a couple of weeks ago, so this is now his team. So although it is stupid in retrospect to fire a first-year head coach in his first year while knowing this was a project, that's stupid in and of itself. Um, if Siegel has a plan with Pat Onstad, fine, whatever. I don't. Who cares? If they don't have a plan, this is stupid. This is extremely stupid, especially since Nagamura showed that he actually does love this team, and he has shown like some interest, like some love for the city. It's his first year as a head coach for a professional side. This is like if Lucci had missed the playoffs the first year, and they're just like, you know what, you're done.
Yeah.
these first year head coaches are not gonna get you into the playoffs most of the time. Like Alucci was like shocking. We were like in awe that he did it in his first year. It generally does not happen. All right. So the fact that they fired him, if they don't have a plan, if they don't go for like, if they don't have like someone on the back end, this is the rebirth of Houston is gonna be atrocious, and I'm all here for it, honestly.
Well, I like that they made him the interim manager because this is a guy that has cut his teeth in the at the lower levels. He coached Houston Dynamo U23 team, and they were quite successful at that level. Then when they started Dynamo 2, for a team that didn't play D3 or D2 league before, he brought a lot of those guys from his U23 team, and basically it's his team he built, strengthened it, and they've been one of the best teams in MLS Next Pro. And that's just showing that he's at least, an organized person who has a style that he prefers to play. And I think it's the right move for them as an interim manager, as opposed to having named one of the other assistants, because they fired all the assistants. They
Right.
fired everybody. They just fired the manager. They fired the manager and his assistants. And so, to see the Houston Dynamo guy manager get moved up, I think that's good for Houston. I don't think he'll get the job unless Houston makes some kind of even if they make a run here the next couple of games, it's going to be meaningless. I think I would like to see them. We all know they're going to bring in a bigger name manager. That's going to happen. A new coach is going. A new owner is going to basically want to make a splash addition. But if they're wise, they should definitely find an assistant job for this guy with Houston Dynamo, because he's definitely an up and coming coach within the league.
Yeah, Bundy.
And you
Bundy
need to
just
reward
feels
those guys.
like. Yeah, Bundy just feels like a hire like Cavello, just to give them time in the spotlight, just to see how they do. I don't think their plan is to keep him on. And if they are going for like a big name coach, it would be very weird if they're just like, "Hey, you guy I don't know, join my training staff." Because if they're going
Exactly.
for a big name, they're going to want influence.
Exactly, but Dallas has done that. I mean, Dallas has certain
Yeah.
coaches that they've kept, even though they brought in new managers. And I'm just saying that's what they should do for this guy. They should find a spot for him with the first team. But anyway, uh, it should be pointed out that Houston Dynamo 2 is losing their manager just as the playoffs are about to hit. So you got to wonder if that's going to sidetrack them, because they're going to have to name one of their academy coaches to take over, or one of the assistants.
Mhm.
So I think that hurts them significantly down the stretch.
I don't have no problem with Houston being at the bottom.
Yeah, no, none of us do really. But interesting news. I posted on the Athletic. I said on the article in the comments. I said, Houston should go after Oscar Pereira. And someone already
Well-
quickly posted and said, Pereira hasn't won anything. What is Houston?
I think one of the up and come coaches is right here in Dallas for North Texas SC.
Right.
From what I've
well,
seen, I think
Yeah,
that guy is
Don't
Don't put
jinx
that
it,
out
man.
there.
Don't
Don't
put
put
that
that
on me, Bobby G.
And frankly, if he has,
Actually, but I think the more likely scenario is that he will one day replace Nico.
potentially, but there's a lot of scenarios. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, if he actually gets approached for that job, that someone should get into his ear and be
If-
like, look, is this
If
really
Oscar
the chance?
Pereira, if Oscar Pereira becomes coach of Houston,
No,
that
no.
to me will piss me off. Like honestly, especially with how what a good position Orlando's in this year. With the signings they've made and like the amount of investment he's put into that team. If he's just like, you know what, I want to go to Houston, I'm gonna be pissed off
No,
because
no,
that to me feels less of like, I just want a job to, whatever. Let's see what happens, and that's no.
I doubt
Well-
that's going to happen. And they're about to play in the Open Cup final right this week, so
Yeah.
it's very unlikely. I was just my little trolling.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to change the subject. One thing I think we should discuss real quick is Pepe's getting loaned or got loaned, and I think that's great. I don't understand them buying him for $20 million and not playing him. There's a big miss there. But I'm happy for Pepe. I'm a little disappointed because I won on Twitter an Augsburg jersey. I had a drawing and just retweet, and I won the jersey. I said, put 18 and put Pepe on there. And I'm wearing the Augsburg shirt that I won to support Pepe. And now he's no longer with the club. He's loaned. And now I did understand there's no buy option, so I think he will return to Augsburg probably, right?
Yeah, honestly, price aside, the fact that they pay too much for him, this is the right move. This is when you sign a player that young, the right move is you should loan him out to a team that's going to need him. By the way, Groningen pretty much got rid of all their forwards, so Pepe is like their one true forward. So they definitely Augsburg sent him there. They must have gotten some guarantees that say, hey, how do we know that he's going to get minutes? And they're like, we'll just clear the slate, and so he's our guy, and that's a great situation going to a very
I'm happy for him.
Very forward friendly league. So I'm so excited for that move. I will definitely catch some Groningen games if I can once he settles in.
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion that Pepe didn't get worse as a player. And, watching the Augsburg games, I thought that team is very lacking in team play and service. But my point is that
everything we thought they were.
Yeah.
But my point is that if Pepe was still with the team, he'd still be the same player that he was, and maybe his fitness is not there because he's not playing. Does he deserve to go to the World Cup? I don't know, but I'll just say that he's still the same player that he was with when he was with us. I don't, he didn't regress. He's just not getting the opportunities at Augsburg, right? So.
Yeah, I actually want to go back to something that Ishmael said earlier when we were talking about North Texas and Amadoume. I think if his asking price is not too high, I expect them to actually buy him. He is the one center back that has played the most for North Texas. He's got, I believe, 18 starts or so, which is almost twice the next guy, which would be, I think, Bartlett. Bartlett has like 10 starts. So for a loanee, and he's young. So, I mean, I think Nice, who's 23, 24 now, I think he's gone next year. So I would not be surprised if Amadoume is basically, like I said, as long as the Pacific asking price isn't too high, I wouldn't be shocked if they buy him and keep him on North Texas for another year. He's still 19, 20 years old, so he's still very much a prospect.
Well, good. Well, let's leave it there tonight. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Of course, we'll be uploading the audio to wherever you find podcasts. You can get it on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify and Google. So, Ishmael, Jose, Tom, thank you for joining us tonight. This is a good one. And huge game this weekend.
All right.
Let's go FC Dallas. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.